City of Abbeville is going to call the Finance Committee meeting now. Chairman Francis.
Not yet. Our Finance Committee meeting is on now at this time. I'll ask Steve, if you will, to give us a quick report on the third quarter.
Yeah, this is actually, through the first 9 months of the year. It's covered through the third quarter of the year. We're now in the fourth quarter, so we're approaching year end for this calendar year and your annual report. But through 9 months, on the presentation is your revenue analysis. Sales tax revenues through 9 months were actually up from the year before by about 131,000 at 4.78 million. Previous year was 4.65 million. Good news is we actually budgeted a slight decrease. We always be a little conservative on your revenues, and so you're actually 300,000 ahead of budget in the sales tax revenue, which is about 3% above last year. So that's the good news. Water revenues, sewer revenues were both up within 1% from the previous year and ahead of budget about the same amount. Budget is about 1.6 for water revenue, 1.5 for sewer revenue. Water revenue came in about 1.61 million. Sewer revenue was 1.55. So right in line with budget, and both of them are a little bit higher than they did before. The electric revenues were basically flat, 2.97 million this year. Last year, 2.98 million. So about 10,000 under what the year before was through 9 months. So that includes the summer months. We did budget about 2.92 million, so you're actually ahead of budget by 40,000 on the utility revenues. So overall, the revenue aspects, you're ahead of budget overall for the city on revenues. If you go to the next page, is the payroll analysis. Payroll in the general fund. You have various departments, accounts, airport, Main Street, police, fire, streets, parks. Overall, the revenues for this year actual, your second column is 3.77 million. That's up about 130,000 from the year before at 3.6 million. Budget is 3.9, so we're actually ahead of budget by about 124,000 or 3% payroll through 9 months.
And Steve, how do you think that's going to play out through the end of the year?
It should be right in line. The only unknowns would be, really with overtime with all your departments. As you can see in the police department, they're over budget by 18,000 overtime, but that's really only about 6%, 7%. Fire department's ahead of budget on overtime by about 9%. Your streets is over budget by 13,000, but your parks is even on overtime. So that's your unknown, but with right now we're already in November. We've already beat October, but we should be in good shape. And the utility fund, its budgeted payroll is 1.4 million, and that's what it came in at right there. The revenue is like 30,000 over budget or 2%.
This is just
That's fine. So you're over budget in the utility fund by about 2%. You don't have to do anything really until you get over 5% as far as amending the budget. So overall, all payroll for the city is positive 90,000, right there against the budget, or almost 2%. So revenues are higher than expected. Payroll is right in line, just under budget by 2%. And then the next page will be your expenditures in the various departments. General government, your expenditures for 1.7 million, 1.72, right in line with the year before, within 1% of budget. Police department, its actual expenditure 3 million this year, compared to 2.7 the year before, 300,000 increase. The budget was about the same as the prior year, so we're 9% over budget through 9 months. So that will be addressed when you do your budget amendment.
That's with the PD.
Yes.
Okay.
The fire department Its actual expenditures are just over 3 million, same as last year. And the budget was 3.09 million, so they're ahead of budget by 2.5% or 77,000 favorable. In the street department, it's ahead of budget by 38,000 or 3.8%. Budget is just over 1 million. It came in just under 1,982,000. Parks and Recreation, budget 356,000. Their actual year to date is 301,000. So they're 50,000 ahead of budget, for 15%. So taking all that together in general fund, you're about 98,000 over budget, which represents only 1% through 9 months. So it's pretty right in line with what we expect. In the utility fund, it's 2% over budget for 9 months of 74,000. 3.8 million actual expenditures compared to 3.76. That's actually trending better. It was a little bit worse first and second quarter, had some expenditures, but one-time expenses, but it's more in line with sort of coming back in line with the budget was expected. So that's your overview. I did add another graph for employee health claims and premiums. You self-insure, the city does for its employees' health insurance with some reinsurance that over stop loss policies. Just to give you an idea, I did a 5-year review of 4 years, 2022 through 2025 year to date. The actual health cost back in 2022 was 1.97 million. That includes reinsurance premiums, health claims, and prescription drugs. You do have a stop loss reimbursement, and you got 21,000 that year reimbursed to you, so your net cost is 9.1,950,000. The next year in 23, your overall cost went up 21%, 2.23 million. And then in 24, it went up another 6% to 2.5 million. And the increase is coming from the prescription, up from 700,000 to 900,000 in 2 years, that's 200,000. And then in 25 year to date today, we're at 2.86 million. This is through 9 months. So it's already 14% ahead of what it was the year before. 360,000 through 9 months. Extrapolate that through year end, it could be $500,000 by the end of the year. And that's after taking in some stop loss reimbursement. The loss reimbursement this year was 500,000. What's increasing is our health claims were 1.67. We got about $500,000 back, so that keeps them at about 1.1 million. This is through 9 months, and that's what it worked for a full 12-month period the year before. The prescription drugs are almost 1.2 million through 9 months this year, compared to 900,000 for a 12-month period. There's some significant increases that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's nationwide, Steve, and it's good to keep our hand on the pulse of our condition.
We didn't have any extraordinary medical expenses during the 3 quarters, right?
Well, it's just, well, I wouldn't say extra, no, nothing extraordinary, but you did have some people that met the stop loss. I think it's 75,000, so that would get reimbursed. So it takes a few people to hit that mark to get the reimbursements. But it just shows that our number of employees covered and with their spouse dependents is about the same. 4 years ago, we had almost 400 people, or what we call covered persons in the plan. This in 25, we have 393. So we have the same number of people covered, but the average cost per person went from 4,900 annually to this year it's 7,000 through 9 months. So we have to keep that in mind. It does put the city's in good financial shape with its revenues, expenses in line, because we do have some costs here that are increasing. And we have a revenue source for that, but that may not be enough to absorb all of these costs. So we just have to keep that in mind as we go forward. So I just wanted to bring that to you. And this is just a graph presentation, just sometimes it's easier to see it in line bar graph. The red bar is your healthcare claims paid. See this year is 1.6 million compared to 1 last year. But the purple line you can see is very little in 22, 23, but in 25 we got 500,000. That's the reimbursement from our reinsurance company. blue line is your reinsurance. That's been pretty much in line, 47,000 up to 500. I would expect that's gonna go up next year because they use it based on your experience ratio. And you haven't had many employees get to that reinsurance. So it's been pretty flat, but we see this year with that plan, 500,000, you may see increase. And the prescription drugs is your green bar, and that's steadily increasing.
I see that.
We just wanted to give you an update on that aspect of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Chairman, any questions?
Yes, Steve, I had mentioned to you, if you remember last time you were here, I was concerned about an increase for our city workers and had asked you about it. But I understand that when I was here, and I think the last time we had a raise for them across the board was in 2020. And then they were getting 50 cents at their anniversary date. And then I understand now, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I just want to make sure that our city employees are kind of keeping up with the cost of living. Okay. And so I understand that they're getting 2% now annually.
Right.
Is that correct?
They don't get a COLA. They just get an increase, right?
It's a percentage of their salary, and cost of living adjustment is, I mean, you're trying to keep up with inflation. Inflation over the last 5 years has been 3% plus. I mean, it was like 1 and 22, it was 9%. So you probably have saw some low percentile because of that. But
Okay, so they're getting 2%. Is there any way that we can look at them getting a little more than that?
but I can see
I
you're
mean,
working.
just examine it, get with the mayor on it. If you
Yes,
don't
we're
mind.
working on the budget right now.
Right.
And so take that into consideration with the budget discussions.
Okay.
I'll make sure it's brought up.
I think the council would agree. I think we'll all agree to that. Kind of, we can get them a little higher on the percentage because naturally everything is going up. But does anybody have anything else they want to ask Steve about?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Steve.